Imagine waking up in a world where dawn is announced by drums, where even road dust is sacred, and a single wrong gesture could make you an outcast or a saint. Take a deep breath, because today you're about to survive the most intense 24 hours of your life in medieval India. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. What time is it where you are right now? Where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your answers in the comments. I'd love to know who's traveling with me. And of course, if you're into stories that challenge, confuse, and transform you, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and ring the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Now close your eyes and get ready to open your mind. Let's begin. You awaken to the clang of temple bells, the distant chant of monks, and the warm, heavy air, thick with the aroma of spice and smoke. Your eyes open to a blinding world of color: turmeric yellows, crimson powders, brilliant indigo robes. The city buzzes like a hive, and you're the only one who doesn't know the dance. Welcome to medieval India, a place so alive, it feels like the earth itself is breathing beneath your feet. Here, divinity walks beside merchants, cows block royal processions, and a man covered in ashes may be more revered than your king back home. You step through the massive stone gates of the city and into the bazaar. It's as if you've entered a living painting, a kaleidoscope of turbans, saris, wooden carts, and parasols. Children weave through crowds, laughing. A monkey steals fruit from a vendor who laughs instead of scolding it. You hear 5 languages in one breath: Sanskrit chants, Tamil bargaining, Arabic trade, Persian poetry, and a whisper of Hindi. A merchant shouts, offering amulets to protect you from curses. Another offers perfumed oils guaranteed to attract favor from Lakshmi, goddess of fortune. You nod, overwhelmed, clutching your coin pouch like it's your last hope. Then someone gently presses a vermilion dot onto your forehead. A blessing. A stranger has already decided your fate. Drums throb with the heartbeat of festivals. Flutes weave melodies through alleyways. Brass bells ring from a temple tower as fire dances before an idol of Ganesha. Somewhere, a woman sings a lullaby to her baby, her voice lost in the roar. You try to think, but the thoughts get drowned in celebration. Here, silence is not golden. It's suspicious. A silent street might mean a funeral or a snake. You look up, hoping for a bell tower or a sundial. Instead, you find a priest pouring milk over a statue of Shiva as the morning puja begins. It's sunrise. That much you can tell. But what time is it? It is the hour of Vishnu, someone tells you. You pause. What does that mean? How many hours are there? Turns out, time here isn't measured by a clock, but by the gods. Morning belongs to one deity, dusk to another. Midday isn't 12 p.m. It's the moment Hanuman receives his offerings. You're led to the Ganges, the sacred river. It shimmers under the sun, golden and wide, but the air changes, heavier, filled with incense, flowers, and the sharp scent of burning ghee. You look left, and there it is. Funeral pyre, flames licking the sky, as a family bows in prayer beside it. A body wrapped in saffron cloth lies still as the fire consumes it. No cries, only chanting. You expect sadness. Instead, you see reverence, release, transformation. You walk down a narrow lane. A man stops you, not to beg, but to point. You almost stepped on a pattern drawn in rice flour. It's a kolam, a prayer to welcome fortune into a home. That cow chewing calmly in the middle of the road, holy, untouchable, that banyan tree with cloth tied around it, a shrine, that street sweeper, a follower of a god you don't know. You enter a courtyard. Take off your shoes. The ground is hot, but it's not just stone. It's sacred. You squint at signs etched in flowing scripts. Devanagari curls, Tamil loops, Persian flourishes. You can't read anything. You try asking for directions. The boy grins and speaks a language your ears have never heard. You're not just linguistically lost. You're socially mute. Every gesture could be misunderstood. Every word could carry unintended weight. They are everywhere. A statue of Durga stands in a market corner, draped in marigolds. Children bow before it before buying sweets. You pass a temple and catch sight of Kali, eyes fierce, tongue out, feet planted on a demon. You flinch. These are not decorations, a passerby says. These are the ones who see us. You try to offer your left hand to a nobleman. He recoils. You sit with your feet pointed toward a monk. He frowns. You accidentally enter a home uninvited and are quickly ushered out with polite panic. Nothing you do feels right. You are trying, but this land doesn't bend to you. It demands that you observe, adapt, and listen. You came seeking trade, adventure, perhaps enlightenment. But medieval India is not a place that gives answers easily. It's a land that demands humility, rewards curiosity, and punishes arrogance. You're not its master, not even its guest. You're a soul in a vast ocean of belief, tradition, and beauty. And you've only just taken your first breath. Welcome to the land of 1,000 gods. Survive the day, and you might just find yourself reborn. The roads are alive. Ox carts, elephants, and total mayhem. You take your first steps beyond the city's edge, expecting a dirt path or a village road. Instead, you enter a living artery pulsing with unpredictable movement and sound. The road is not just a way from one place to another. It is a battlefield, a theater, a marketplace, and sometimes a sanctuary. Dust swirls into your eyes before you even blink. You cough as the scent of dung, sandalwood, and sweat surrounds you. Wooden wheels creak loudly as bullock carts trudge past, loaded with clay pots, sacks of grain, and entire families. The oxen move slowly but steadily, their horns painted in vibrant colors, their foreheads marked with sacred ash. Then comes the elephant, a towering beast, adorned with bells and velvet cloth, trudges forward with majestic indifference. Its keeper sits atop its neck with a sharp stick, though the elephant clearly needs no convincing. It knows the way. People move aside quickly, not out of fear, but out of awe. Some offer fruit to the creature, others whisper prayers. You just gape, completely overwhelmed. Behind you, a rickety two-wheeled cart pulled by a camel screeches to a halt. The driver, wrapped in dusty white cloth, shouts something at you. You don't understand, but the meaning is clear. You're in the way. You jump aside just in time for a group of pilgrims to pass, singing in unison, barefoot on hot stones, their feet calloused, but sure. The road forks unexpectedly. One path is dry and dusty, another submerged under shallow water from a recent monsoon. People seem to choose both with equal confidence. There are no signs, no markers, just intuition and habit. You try to follow a merchant on horseback, thinking he knows the way, but his horse suddenly rears at a group of monkeys darting across the road, and the man is nearly thrown. The monkeys screech, scatter, and climb a banyan tree, where they resume grooming one another as if nothing happened. Suddenly, The air is pierced by the shrill wail of a conch shell. A temple procession approaches. Drummers lead the way, their rhythms urgent and loud. Behind them, priests carry a palanquin, draped in silk and marigolds, where a small idol rests. Perhaps Krishna, perhaps Vishnu. People stop. They kneel. They throw petals. The road halts, not because anyone commanded it, but because the divine has entered. After a few moments, the procession passes, and the chaos resumes like a pot left boiling. To the side, under the shade of a neem tree, a scribe records transactions on a long palm leaf with black ink and a sharpened reed. Nearby, a blacksmith pounds iron horseshoes in rhythm with the beat of the temple drums still fading. A snake charmer plays his flute as a cobra sways in a basket. Children stare. So do you. Suddenly, a scream. A goat, startled by a wild dog, bolts through a row of spice sacks, knocking over chilies and turmeric into the air. Like a burst of powdered fire, merchants curse. The dog barks. The goat disappears. There are no traffic lanes, no rules, no order as you know it. Yet everything somehow works. People move with the flow, swaying like dancers in a pattern they've known since birth. No one waits for permission. No one apologizes. The road belongs to everyone, and no one. You try to cross and find your path blocked by a cow. It stands there, chewing, blinking slowly, sacred, untouchable. You can't move it. You must go around. But to your left, a procession of holy men in orange robes chants as they walk barefoot. To the right, a vegetable vendor is locked in fierce haggling with a noblewoman's servant. You choose to wait. The cow blinks again. Farther down the path, a caravan of traders from the west unloads goods. Glass from Syria, spices from Arabia, fine wool from Persia. They speak in a mix of tongues. You catch a few words. Pepper, silver, silk. You're reminded again that this road is not local. It's global. Even in this ancient time, a cart breaks a wheel. The driver curses in Marathi. Two men rush to help. A rope is tied. The load shifted. No traffic officer appears. No help is summoned. The problem is fixed because it must be. At the river crossing, a wooden ferry sways as people and livestock board it without hesitation. You hesitate. It creaks under the weight. The ferryman grins, revealing beetle-stained teeth, and gestures for you to step aboard. You do. The river glitters, deceptively calm. On the other side, the road continues, just as wild, just as alive. This isn't just transportation, it's transformation. The road changes you. It humbles you. It reminds you that in this land, movement is not a right. It's a negotiation with beasts, nature, divinity, and the will of those around you. And the road always wins. A feast for the brave. Spices, fire, and stomach trials. You sit on a low wooden stool, cross-legged, under a thatched canopy, beside a bustling village square. A brass plate is placed in front of you, gleaming in the sunlight. The aroma hits you first. An intoxicating mix of cardamom, mustard seed, roasted cumin, and ghee. Your stomach rumbles, both in anticipation and fear. A woman in a green sari ladles steaming lentils onto your plate, followed by a scoop of rice tinted with saffron, pickled mango, green chilies, and a heap of something that looks like mashed potatoes, but smells like it's been infused with lightning. You reach for a spoon, but none is given. She nods at your right hand. You hesitate. This is how it begins. The first bite is warm and soft. Steamed rice soaked in lentil stew. For a moment, it's comfort. But then the next bite, seasoned with a fiery red chutney, sets your mouth ablaze. You cough, eyes water. The villagers around you laugh gently, not to mock, but to welcome you to the fire trial of their everyday meals. You chew through flavors like never before. Tamarind makes your jaw tighten. Curry leaves release a perfume in your nose. Fenugreek leaves a bitterness you can't place. There is no balance, only contrast. Sweet fights sour, spicy dances with earthy. Nothing is bland. Everything is alive. You gulp water, but are told gently that water won't help. It only spreads the fire. Instead, a cup of buttermilk is handed to you. Cool, sour, strange, but effective. Then come the breads. Flat rounds of wheat, roti, soft and warm, crisp, puffed globes, puri, that collapse with steam inside. A fried, flaky triangle called samosa is served, filled with spiced potato and peas. You take a bite and are hit with clove and cinnamon. It tastes like the spice cabinet. Back home collided with a thunderstorm. As the sun climbs higher, you're led to a festival table. A feast is being prepared for a holy day. Banana leaves are spread as plates. Pots bubble over fire pits. Young boys grind spices by hand, mortar and pestle, rhythmically pounding coriander and pepper. Women stir massive cauldrons with wooden paddles taller than a man. A monk arrives, barefoot, his bowl empty. Food is served to him first, in silence. You learn that feeding the holy is a sacred duty. The richest dish, a thick and oily curry, is placed before him without hesitation. You're offered a dessert, sweet and golden. Jalebi, they call it. Coiled like a rope, soaked in sugar syrup, it crackles when bitten. Another is a ball of chickpea flour and ghee, laddu, dense and grainy, dissolving into your tongue like sacred sand. But the trial is not over. Your host hands you a small green parcel, betel leaf, folded with lime paste, nuts, and what seems to be perfume. You chew, your mouth tingles, cool and sharp. Your head lightens. It's not just a digestive, it's a rite of passage. The heat returns hours later, not in your mouth, but in your belly, a slow burning ache, a reminder that your innards are new to this fire. You retreat to the edge of the village, clutching your gut. A child offers you fennel seeds. You chew them without question. Relief begins. You think about meals at home, boiled meats, stale bread, perhaps a little salt. Here, every meal is a ritual. Every ingredient has a purpose. Turmeric for purification, ginger for warmth, ghee to honor the gods. Food is medicine. Food is prayer. Food is war on the tongue. A cow saunters by and is fed chapati from a widow's hand. Leftovers are offered to ants. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is desecrated. Even in hunger, there is holiness. At dusk, you are invited to a final meal, a quiet supper with a Brahmin priest. He blesses the food before touching it. He explains that to eat is to accept the world into your body, that the body is sacred, and so the food must be too. You listen. You eat slowly. You begin to understand. Here, food is not fuel. It's a philosophy. And your stomach, poor foreigner, has just enrolled in a new religion. Sacred rules you've already broken. You enter the village temple courtyard with curiosity, stepping onto the stone threshold with your sandals still on. The murmurs stop. Eyes turn. A priest rushes forward, not in anger, but in alarm, and gestures urgently. You realize too late. The threshold is sacred. Your feet, clothed in leather, have crossed a line invisible to you, but carved into centuries of devotion. This is your first lesson. Not all boundaries are marked by stone. Some are drawn in belief. You remove your sandals and bow in apology. The priest accepts it with a nod, but the silence around you remains. You've disrupted the rhythm of reverence. In this world, intention matters, but action echoes louder. You sit with others on the temple floor, legs crossed. Without thinking, you point your feet toward the sanctum where the deity rests. A man gently pulls your legs back. Never point your feet at the gods, he whispers. They are the lowest part of the body. It is a sign of disrespect. You nod. Another lesson, etched without ink. Later you reach for food with your left hand. A sharp intake of breath surrounds you. The woman serving stops mid-motion. The left hand is for unclean tasks, you're told. Eating, offering, receiving. All must be done with the right. You wash your hands twice after. But the discomfort lingers, not from offense, but from being so unaware. You try to greet a noblewoman with a handshake. She recoils. A servant steps between you. Hands do not touch outside family or ritual, he says. Especially not between man and woman. Unless permitted, you bow instead, palms pressed together. She returns the gesture with grace. You feel the tension leave the air. In the marketplace, a man offers you a string of flowers. You accept and immediately place it around your neck in thanks. The man looks horrified. That was not a gift. It was an offering meant for the temple idol. You remove it, apologizing. He takes it back carefully, muttering a prayer to restore its sanctity. You pass a tree, wrapped in cloth, unaware that it's a shrine. You lean against it to rest. A boy nearby shouts, "That tree grants wishes," he says. "Don't sit. Ask." You step back, hands folded. Another moment, another rule you didn't see coming. One day, you're invited to a Brahmin home for a meal. Before entering, you're asked to bathe. Not just wash your hands. Bathe entirely. You're puzzled. But for them, ritual purity before eating is non-negotiable. Clean body, clean offering. Inside, you're served on a banana leaf, not a plate. You start eating, while others are still praying. A hush falls. Meals begin after invocation. You stop, lower your head, and wait. Even your shadow becomes a problem once. You unknowingly let it fall across a sacred fire during a ritual. The priest halts his chant, sprinkles water, restarts from the beginning. You apologize again, always apologizing, always learning. You begin to notice the invisible system guiding daily life. Who eats with whom? Who touches whom? Who enters which doorway? Some are allowed near the well, others are not. Some eat first, others wait. You ask questions. You receive nods, but rarely explanations. It's not always logic, it's lineage, and the rules do not bend for you. One afternoon, you laugh too loudly in a shrine. A man frowns. Joy is welcome. Disruption is not, he says. You weren't mocking, but still, you were careless. You offer alms to a wandering ascetic, placing coins directly into his hand. He jerks back. You've bypassed the ritual bowl. The offering must be impersonal, humble, anonymous. You start to carry flowers. You ask before entering spaces. You eat slowly. You fold your hands more often. It's not fear that drives you. It's reverence. An understanding begins to take root that this world isn't TB obsessed with rules. It S built on respect. Boundaries protect the sacred. Discipline cultivates devotion. You once thought culture was color, language, and song, but here it is behavior, posture, restraint, and slowly you stop breaking rules, not because you've memorized them, but because you've begun to see them. In a land where everything is sacred, Every act is a ritual, and every mistake is a mirror held to your own ignorance. Cleanliness is godliness, but not how you think. At dawn, you follow the villagers to the riverbank. The air is still cool, and the sky is pink with sleep. Men and women bathe in silence, fully clothed, slipping into the water with slow, reverent motions. This is not hygiene as you know it. It is ritual, a purification of body and spirit, watched by rising sun and stone deities. You are told to join. Hesitant, you wade into the current. It's colder than expected, but what shocks you more is the contrast. People bathing just feet from where ashes drift from a nearby cremation. You reel inwardly, but no one else flinches. Here, the Ganges is not a river. It is mother. She accepts all. Later, a man invites you into his home, but not before he washes his doorstep with water and cow dung. You freeze. At home, dung is filth. Here, it is sacred. A cleanser, a purifier, a barrier against evil. The smell is sharp, earthy, and strangely not unpleasant. You step over the threshold, suddenly aware of your footprints. Your hosts offer you a seat, but not until they have sprinkled the floor with water and drawn a design in white chalk. Kolam, they call it, a sacred geometry to invite prosperity. Even sitting becomes a sanctified act. Before a meal, you wash your hands and face, but your host washes his feet too, scrubbing ankles and toes, then rinsing his mouth 3 times before taking food. Every movement is measured, almost choreographed. Cleanliness is not just preparation, it's intention, a sign of respect for the food, the guest, the gods. You notice people avoid touching food directly. Grains are handled with specific fingers. Leftovers are kept separate. Plates are not shared. Even the act of serving someone involves careful gestures. No cross-contamination, no carelessness. Waste is removed swiftly, not hidden, but managed. A man in plain robes comes at sunrise to collect ash, husks, and discarded flower garlands. He separates what will feed animals, what will be burned, and what will return to the earth. Nothing is trash. Everything has a place. In temples, the priests bathe before rituals, sometimes multiple times a day. Their garments are white and pure, changed regularly. They do not enter the sanctum without purification. You are told you cannot enter certain inner chambers at all, not because you are unwelcome, but because you are not ritually ready. You hear the word shuddhi often. Purity, not just physical, but mental, spiritual, even atmospheric. A loud noise can pollute a prayer. A bad thought can spoil an offering. Cleanliness is a full-body practice, inside and out. When someone is ill, they are cared for, but also ritually distanced. Their plates are washed separately. Their bedding is cleansed with ash. It is not stigma. It is protocol. Protection through order. Even clothing follows rules. Certain colors are worn only on certain days. White for mourning, yellow for sacred days, red for marriage. Clothes are washed daily, hung in the sun like flags of renewal. You begin to understand that this obsession with purity is not fear of dirt, but love of balance, a harmony between body and cosmos. You wash not to erase something wrong, but to prepare for something right. In the fields, farmers begin their day by touching the earth, then their forehead. In kitchens, women ring a bell before lighting the fire. In schools, students wash their feet before entering. Cleanliness is not preparation. It is participation. You watch a widow clean a small shrine with milk. A boy scrubs a copper pot until it gleams. A stranger pours water over your hands before offering fruit. These moments stack, slowly, silently, until the message is clear. To be clean is to be ready. To be ready is to be worthy. And so you bathe again, not just with water, but with awareness. The dirt on your skin is gone, but something deeper has been scrubbed away too. You begin to feel lighter. You begin to feel welcome. Invisible walls, castes, status, and social landmines. You think you've begun to understand the rhythm of this place. You've learned how to eat, where to sit, when to speak. But then someone doesn't respond to your greeting. Another refuses food you offered. A child hides behind her mother when you try to help. You feel the shift, but don't understand why. The answer is everywhere, but nowhere written. Cast. It isn't announced. There are no signs. Yet it governs every gesture, every invitation, every silence. A lattice of ancient divisions, stronger than stone, as invisible as air. You watch a potter sculpt a clay urn with delicate fingers, only to be ignored by a priest passing by. You ask why they do not speak. The potter shrugs. He cannot take water from my hands, he says simply. We are of different paths. Different paths. Not professions. Positions. Layers stacked over centuries. Priests. Warriors. Merchants. Farmers. Artisans. Cleaners. And others. People who live in silence, in the margins, whose names are whispered if spoken at all. At the well, women form separate lines. Their vessels are placed carefully, so as not to touch. You see one woman, dressed plainly, wait until the others have left. She draws water, not from the main spout, but from a small runoff on the side. Her eyes never rise. In a household, food is prepared and eaten separately. A guest's caste determines where they sit, what plate they use, who can serve them. You were once given brassware, another time, clay. You thought nothing of it. Now you understand. Materials carry meaning. You try to give a coin to a man who swept the temple steps. He declines. Not from pride, but fear. To accept your offering directly would imply closeness. He points to a cornerstone. Place it there, he says. Then I will take it. You notice a group of children learning from a teacher under a banyan tree. One child sits apart. You ask why. The teacher pauses. His family has a different duty, he says. He listens, but he does not recite. Your instinct is to resist. It feels unjust, arbitrary. But that's not how it feels here. It is seen as order, not oppression. A web of spiritual roles, handed down like sacred inheritance. You see the cracks, though. A boy whose eyes burn with questions he cannot ask. A girl who sings beautifully, but never before strangers. A merchant who won't enter a noble's home, even when invited. At a festival, you witness a procession. High caste priests lead, draped in gold-threaded cloth. Behind them, musicians. Then laborers. Then, finally, the drummers and dancers from the outskirts. They're the loudest, the most vibrant, but they are also kept farthest back. You walk with them. A priest frowns. Someone whispers, the foreigner does not know. You begin to see the lines. Who can marry whom? Who touches whom? Who is invisible? A woman confesses that she cannot worship at the main temple altar. Another says her prayer must pass through a priest first. You hear the word Varna. It means color. But here, it means category, an ancient code. You hear Yati, too. A more complex identity. Local, specific, generational. It's not one system. It's 100, braided together. One day, a young man invites you to his home. His family serves you with warmth. But when the neighbors hear, they stop speaking to him. He smiles bitterly. You are allowed to cross lines, he says. We are not. Not all follow the rules blindly. There are whispers of saints who broke caste, who ate with all, who declared the soul has no hierarchy. But these are exceptions, not norms. You ask a scholar about reform. He sighs. To change a river's course, you must first know every twist. The structure is resilient, not because it is just, but because it is old, inherited, defended. Yet you are treated differently, not always with welcome, but with distance. You float above the grid. You are neither threat nor ally. You are outside, and that is its own caste. In time, you speak less. You observe more. You learn to see the gaps in the village. Where a person stands tells you their world. What they touch tells you their freedom. Caste is not shouted. It is breathed. It moves like incense, subtle, inescapable, clinging to everything. You once believed society was a staircase. Here, it is a maze. And every wall is made of rules no one admits to building. The day religion became reality, it begins at dawn, not with a sermon, but with a drum. You wake to rhythmic pounding, echoing through the village. It's not celebration, it's invocation. Priests parade through the streets, waking gods with chants and cymbals. Sleep falls away as smoke rises from brass bowls, thick with burning camphor. Religion here is not practiced. It is lived. It is the air, the rhythm, the expectation. Today is a festival. Which one, you're not sure. There are so many, each more ancient than the last. You're handed a garland, a pinch of yellow turmeric, and told to follow. You do. A procession winds through the streets. A palanquin carries a deity, painted, adorned, crowned. People throw flower petals, sing hymns, cry, dance. You see men walking on coals, women carrying pots of fire on their heads, children dressed as gods. No one is watching. Everyone is participating. The deity is set on a stage. Priests bathe it with milk, honey, ghee, rosewater. It gleams under the sun like a living being. A flame is passed before it. The flame touches you, not with heat, but with presence. You feel something shift inside. Later, you sit in a shaded hall where the Ramayana is being recited. The storyteller doesn't read. He performs. He becomes the characters. He weeps as Sita is taken. He roars as Hanuman flies. The crowd gasps, cheers, sighs. You do too. This isn't mythology. It's memory. These stories are not past. They are lived now. In gestures, in decisions, in dreams. At the river, women offer small boats of leaves, filled with flame, flowers, coins. They release them into the current with closed eyes. You try it. Your boat tips. A child steadies it. Wish again, she says. In a temple courtyard, a man enters a trance. His body shakes. His voice changes. He is possessed, they say. Not by a demon, but by a god. People come forward, seeking advice, healing, forgiveness. You watch, skeptical. Then he turns to you, says something in your tongue, words he could not have known. You are shaken. Religion here is not doctrine. It is event, miracle, encounter. You meet a wandering monk who owns nothing but a bowl and a song. He sits under a tree and sings of unity. His voice is cracked, but his eyes burn. People leave food, flowers, questions. He answers none. He sings. You sit beside him for hours. You enter a Jain temple where marble gleams and silence rules. No shoes, no meat, no harsh words. Even ants are guided gently away. You've never seen such reverence for life. You step carefully, as if the floor itself is sacred. In another village, you witness a ritual of possession. Women whirl in circles, their hair loose, their voices rising. Drums pound, fire blazes. You feel fear, awe, disorientation. A hand pulls you back. A man says, "The goddess is choosing." You hear stories of gods walking disguised as beggars, of saints who fed tigers, of kings who gave up thrones to seek truth. These aren't parables. They are lessons, warnings, maps. One day, lightning strikes a neem tree. The next morning, villagers build a shrine around it, not to protect from fear, but to honor presence. The divine doesn't explain, it appears. You begin to see shrines everywhere, in rocks, rivers, doorways, trees. Some have idols, some have only marks, but all are tended, all are respected. You stop walking in straight lines. You learn to walk around. You visit a village healer. He chants over your fevered body, touches ash to your brow, ties a thread around your wrist. The fever fades. Coincidence? Perhaps. But you don't remove the thread. Religion is not confined to holy days. It decides marriages, disputes, travel, health, agriculture. Auspicious days govern contracts. Stars dictate names. A sneeze can postpone a journey. At a wedding, fire is the witness. At a funeral, fire is the gate. The same element, different meanings. Nothing is ordinary. All is layered. You stop thinking in categories. There is no split between sacred and daily. They are the same. A sip of water, a word spoken, a breath drawn. Each has weight. Each has a thread connecting it to heaven. You used to think religion was belief. Here it is presence, a constant companion, not always comforting, sometimes demanding, but always there. You walk alone one evening. The moon is bright. You pass a shrine and stop, though you weren't planning to. You place a flower there. You don't know why. And that's when you understand. In this land, you don't choose when to believe. Faith chooses you. The foreign mind begins to crack or awaken. It starts slowly. You begin to forget what time it is, then what day, then what it even meant to track those things. Your sense of order unravels, not in panic, but like old thread, gently, persistently. You find yourself doing things without asking why, folding your hands before entering a home, walking around a cow instead of past it, removing your shoes before speech feels natural. It's not mimicry, it's absorption. You once craved explanation. Now you accept patterns, not because you understand them, but because they make sense here, even if they don't in your language. You've stopped asking, "What does this mean?" and started asking, "What does this do?" You used to describe your experience in foreign words, exotic, colorful, chaotic. Now, those words feel hollow. They describe distance. You no longer feel distant. Your dreams change. You no longer see your stone-walled village or its gray skies. You dream of fires and rivers, of songs and smoke, of eyes that see through you. You wake disoriented, not because the dreams are strange, but because waking feels stranger. One morning, you catch yourself touching your chest with 3 fingers before stepping outside. You don't know what it means. You saw someone do it. It felt right. You used to write letters back home, full of astonishment and complaint. Lately, you write less, not because there's nothing to say, but because you lack the words. How do you explain that you no longer flinch at fire rituals? That the sound of chanting now soothes you? That silence, once a friend, now feels empty. You meet others like you, foreigners, travelers, traders. Some resist. They cling to their habits, joke about the heat, mock the rules. You try to speak with them, but something is off. Their laughter seems sharp. Their observations miss the point. You feel the divide. One of them asks, "Isn't it all a bit much?" You hesitate. Then you say, "It used to be." You walk with a farmer who tells you the monsoon will come early. You ask how he knows. He points to the shape of the clouds, the way ants move, the smell of the soil. You don't doubt him. You sit with a weaver who hums a song as she works. You ask its meaning. She says it's not meant to be translated. You have to sing it while weaving, or it loses its shape. You don't understand, but you nod. A child asks if you believe in their God. You pause. You say, "I believe in the way people light the lamp." The child smiles like that's a good answer. You used to walk with your chin up, confident. Now, your steps are softer, your gaze lower, your ears more open. The world hasn't changed. You have. You notice the weight of your own assumptions. You once thought logic ruled all things. That belief needed proof. That stories were less than facts. That unfamiliar meant inferior. One by one, those pillars fall. Not in shame. In awakening, you begin to feel a strange loyalty, not to a land, or a temple, or a belief, but to a way of being that feels honest. You no longer seek answers. You seek presence. Someone once told you that truth is a sword. Here, you learn it can be a thread, a gesture, a flavor, a silence between words. You meet a blind storyteller who recites verses perfectly. He never saw the world, but somehow he sees it clearer than you ever did. When he speaks, you listen not just with your ears, but with your spine. One night, under the stars, you feel it fully. A collapse, not of understanding, but of needing to understand. You exhale without analysis. The night is not for thinking. It is for being. The foreign mind does not vanish, but it cracks, and through that crack, something grows. Not certainty, not control, but humility. You no longer fear being lost, because now, being lost means being open. You are not from here, but for the first time, you are not outside it. You survived, but you're not the same. You wake before the sun, not because you must, but because you want to. The air is cool, the world still. You sit cross-legged on the threshold of a home that is not yours, yet no longer feels foreign. You sip warm water, not expecting flavor, just presence. You survived. A day, a week, a season. Time became soft. Days blurred into rituals. Faces became familiar. The names of gods stopped confusing you. The rules no longer needed translation. They became instinct. You have stopped trying to compare. India is no longer like anything. It just is. And so are you, within it. You once flinched at the chaos. Now you see choreography. You once recoiled from the noise. Now you miss it when it's gone. You once sought refuge from the unknown. Now the unknown feels like home. You walk through the village with no destination. A dog wags its tail. A woman waves from her rooftop. A boy offers you a mango and runs before you can thank him. You eat it. Sweet, messy, alive. You reach the temple steps and sit, not to pray, not to ask, but to witness. Pilgrims pass, some limping, some singing. You see in their eyes the same hunger that brought you here, and maybe the same surrender. You remember the moments of discomfort. The stomach aches, the social stumbles, the silences you didn't understand. You no longer feel ashamed of them. They were your first prayers. You remember the man who refused your coin, the priest who corrected your posture, the child who laughed at your accent. They were your teachers. Your skin carries the dust of 1,000 steps. Your clothes smell of smoke, turmeric, and wind. You have stopped dressing to protect yourself. You dress to participate. You have learned to wait for meals, for answers, for the monsoon, and in waiting, you learned to watch, to feel, to respect. You have cried here, not from sadness, but from scale, from the overwhelming bigness of it all, the colors, the rituals, the stories that stretch beyond memory. You cried because you were allowed to feel small and safe in that smallness. You now understand why some people never leave, and why those who do carry it in their blood forever. You think about home, not with longing, but with clarity. You know now what it gave you, and what it didn't. You know its silence and its blindness. You know your place there, and you wonder how it will fit around who you've become. You try to write down what happened, the smells, the sounds, the teachings, but words fall short. They always will. Some places are not meant to be explained, only embodied. You were never meant to last a day here, but you did, and each day after peeled away another layer of expectation, of control, of separation. You came with maps. You leave with questions. You came with judgment. You leave with reverence. You came as a visitor. You leave as a witness. And though your journey ends, the real change has only begun. Because now, when you close your eyes at night, you don't see darkness. You see marigolds, fire, river, sky, and you feel the 1,000 hands that shaped you without ever touching you. You survived, but more importantly, you listened, and that is how you were transformed. Why you wouldn't last a day in medieval India. You arrive in medieval India not as a traveler, but as a witness to a world that doesn't resemble your own, yet functions with an inner logic that seems older than time. The moment your foot touches the earth, you are no longer in control. The rules have changed. The pace has shifted. Your senses, trained by the silence and restraint of medieval Europe, are immediately overwhelmed. The market is your first test. It is not a place to buy things. It is a temple of interaction, color, smell, and chaos. The air is thick with incense and fried ghee. Cows block entrances. People chant while bartering. Every object has a spirit. Every transaction is a spiritual exchange. You don't know where to look. You don't know what to say. You realize that in this place, awareness is everything, and you have none. Then comes the road. You expected stillness, perhaps silence. What you find is rhythm and danger. Ox carts trudge past. Elephants tower over crowds. Monkeys leap between trees, and everyone seems to know exactly where to move, except you. The traffic is a dance. It has no conductor, but it flows like blood in veins that never clot. You learn quickly. There is no space made for you. You must adapt or be trampled, figuratively or literally. The food, when it arrives, is not nourishment. It is confrontation. Spices are weapons and offerings. Each bite is a story of geography, history, and divinity. You eat with your hands. You burn. You sweat. You misunderstand every rule of etiquette and realize the meal is not just about taste, but purity, hierarchy, and ritual. Your stomach revolts, but your soul begins to listen. But the deeper rules aren't about food or noise. They're about behavior, Sacred rules govern movement, posture, speech. You commit mistake after mistake, entering a temple with shoes on, sitting with feet pointed toward an idol, offering your left hand, touching someone you shouldn't. You feel shame not just because you erred, but because you now understand how sacredness is sewn into every thread of life here. In medieval India, etiquette is not politeness, it is theology. You start to wash differently. You see water used with reverence. Before meals, before prayer, after touching anything unclean. Homes are purified with cow dung. Feet are washed before crossing thresholds. You once thought of cleanliness as hygiene. Here, it is holiness. You bathe in rivers that carry ashes, and for the first time, you feel cleaner than ever before. Then, you see the walls that don't exist physically, but divide people completely. The caste system. You don't understand at first, but you notice the subtle shifts. Who stands where, who serves whom, who eats with whom. You witness silences that carry centuries of separation. You offer to help someone clean. They refuse. You try to share food. It's declined. You are confused until someone explains. Purity is not just personal, it's social. And it is inherited. You want to protest. But your voice carries no weight here. Your experience means little. This is not injustice as you know it. It is order as they understand it. You begin to see rebellion, not in words, but in soft acts of resistance. A child sitting a little closer, a lower caste man reciting verses he's forbidden to read. Change is slow, but it lives here too. And above all this, religion doesn't sit like a roof over society. It pulses through its veins. Gods are everywhere, on trees, in rivers, in homes, in streets. Faith is not private. It is event, experience, and atmosphere. A man enters a trance. A flame flickers in a shrine. A festival turns an entire village into a theater. You ask questions, but answers are not explanations. They are songs, dances, silences, gestures. You start to feel more than understand. You stop trying to interpret everything. You start to listen. Your mind begins to shift. The foreigner in you breaks. You find yourself instinctively bowing, walking differently, waiting before speaking. You don't know when it happened. One day, you're frustrated. The next, you're participating. You sit beside a monk who doesn't speak. He only breathes, chants softly, and tends to a bowl of rice as if it's a child. You watch. You don't interrupt. That night, for the first time, your dreams are filled with incense, not memories. The transformation is not sudden. It creeps in with every step. You stop writing letters. You no longer have the words. You start feeling at home, in a place that has never once tried to welcome you, and you realize it never needed to. It simply waited for your surrender. You understand now why food is served by hand, why people sit on the floor, why noise matters, why water is sacred, why rituals must be precise, why children watch before they speak, why stories are sung, not written, why silence is never empty. And as you reach the final day of your journey, you walk differently. You are lighter, though the world has not changed. You visit the same streets, eat the same food, bathe in the same river, but you are not the same. You survived, but more than that, you softened. You no longer ask, why do they do this? You ask, what can I learn from this? You return to the threshold of the home where you first sat. You thank the woman who fed you. You fold your hands to the man who taught you the meaning of waiting. You smile at the boy who no longer sees you as a stranger. And when the wind picks up and carries the scent of marigolds, ash, ghee, and earth, you don't flinch. You inhale, and finally, you belong. If this journey moved you, made you reflect, or even made you uncomfortable in the best possible way, then let it live beyond this screen. Leave a like to support more stories like this. Tell me in the comments what surprised you the most about this world. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next adventure. Thank you for walking this path with me.